All right, joining me now from Shizuoka, Japan is Seijiro Takeshita. He's a professor at the School of Management and Information at the University of Shizuoka. Professor, I just want to touch on what Michael Penn was telling us there about Japan's pacifist constitution. In the event of a theoretical missile strike from the north, whether it be intentional or not, how would Japan defend itself?
Well, basically, the best form of defense, as the Japanese have been thinking, is obviously its coalition. That's one of the reasons why they have formed issues like Quad, although Quad is mainly targeted against China. It's basically the U.S. forces jointly with Korean forces that basically sustains the peace in this region in Asia Pacific. Japan alone, it would be pretty difficult, obviously, to accommodate, these kind of aggression. So obviously, it would be an international alliance in Scrum that, Japan would have to build. That's the way that they would like to go.
Is there concern there with this latest round of missile launches that the North is accelerating its missile program and that Japan could be in danger?
Well, the fact of the matter is, I think we should look at it in a little more bigger picture than just focusing solely on North Korea, and then you'll get the picture wrong. The fact that the real culprit of North Korean missile, which, as you just reported, have been very active, throwing over 28 missiles in the first half of this year already, is basically because they can sustain this because they got the Patreon to do so. The economic power of North Korea isn't that strong. The fact that they can continue with these kind of aggression is because they do have a strong backup from China. And so, if we put sanctions against North Korea, it's not going to hurt them because 90% of the trade by the North Koreans are with China. So the best way to convince or basically put pressure against North Korea is basically sanctions via China. But as we all know, one of the biggest reasons why we're having this vigilant storm right now, which is U.S. South Korean, drills, is basically to hold the aggression from China. So, as long as China is very happy to continue with, putting pressure against the United States and its allies, I think this North Korean missile aggression will keep on going.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you because the U.S. is urging all nations to enforce sanctions on the North, but of course sanctions aren't doing anything. The North Korea does have that backing from China. How can China be compelled to act in a way to get North Korea to stop its program, or is it in China's best interest for North Korea to continue to behave this way?
It's basically the latter. That's why it's continuous and that's why it's accelerating. The level of fight over hegemony between the United States and China is getting very aggressive, as we all know, in all areas, including trade, telecommunications, finance, what have you. And of course, America is putting a very strong stance against it by, forming a lot of alliances, for example, like Quad, which we just mentioned. So obviously, China does feel that, they need to fight back in various issues. And one of the ways they can do it against, for example, the actions like Vigilant Storm is basically via North Korea, putting a lot of pressure to the United States and the rest of the world. Certainly, I do believe that, this for that reason, this trend of North Korean aggression will continue. We all know that China, their aggression is basically now from Hong Kong now facing Taiwan, and this obviously is not what the free world, the Western alliances can allow to happen. So for that reason, I think this entanglement is going to be very difficult to resolve.
All right, we'll leave it there. Professor Seijiro Takeshita joining us from Shizuoka in Japan. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.